What's up, everybody? Welcome to Daily Refinement. I met Dalton a couple of weeks ago at FlipCon, and I wanted to introduce you guys to him because he sort of inspired me with social media. And I sort of feel like you have what you're working on going, all these different ways of earning money. And I feel like a lot of people strive for the same kinds of income revenue that you have. So before we get into that, like, where can people find you on social media?
So I'm dealing with Dalton across all platforms. And first off, thanks for having me on. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I just started a Pinterest. I know a lot of people aren't really on Pinterest. I think it's kind of an underrated platform because it's a search engine. So a lot of my educational stuff will be on Pinterest. You guys can check me out there, and Facebook. Really just those main platforms.
I love it. So what interests me about you is that you are pretty consistent, because I watch everyone, but you have social media, you have reselling, you have a private label product, and you're also building a personal brand. So I'm just curious, I really want to know what your day looks like. So maybe let's just start there. What does it look like when you wake up? And it's really, it's a lot to balance.
Yeah. So first off, I don't want to say that I'm the most consistent person in the world. It seems like I'm doing a lot, but at the end of the day, I'm good at batching things, doing a lot of something at one time. And it's really not a lot if you think about it. So my day, most of the time, looks like I wake up and usually I'll go to the gym, eat breakfast, and then start my workday. My workday, I have a listing goal, and I just aim to get 15 listings up every single day. Since FlipCon, I bumped that up to 20. So I'm about 4 days into doing 20 per day right now, just because I have a lot of inventory on my hand right now. So I normally have, it's the same process you teach. I'll have everything ready to photograph in the morning, and I'll photograph my 20, I'll list my 20, and then I'll get my 20 ready for the next day. And then I'll run those to the post office. And as you know, that's not a whole lot. And once you get everything down and you get good at that, that doesn't take a lot of time. That's just a few hours worth of work. And then after that, it's social media. I need to put out a piece of content on Instagram, or I need to put out a couple pieces of TikTok content. Just trying to grow over there and focus on what to go with my next YouTube video. It's not a whole lot right now. Instagram is my main platform, and since I have a private label, I just started selling shoe trees, and a lot of my leads are coming from Instagram. So I really need to be on that, because it's different than eBay. As in, with eBay, you just need to consistently list every day, but I can't, list the same product since it's only shoe trees. It's not about listing. Basically, my social media posts are my listing. So I need to hit my listing goal on Instagram every single day in order to sell more of my shoe trees. Okay, and that's basically my workday.
There's so much to unpack there. So is it like a set schedule, or you just do it in that order?
It's not really a set schedule. It's just that order. Okay. Obviously, I know the 80-20 rule is the main go-to that people use to describe these things, but I'd say 80% of my income is my eBay business, and then 20% of my income is social media related. So eBay takes priority. So the first thing that I do in the morning is get the eBay business done, and then the 20% is working on growing that social media. But I do think that social media, at least for me, because a lot, like you said, I think that a lot of people don't want a huge eBay business. And I definitely fall into that category. I don't see myself running a multi-million-dollar eBay business. But so for me, I think social media has the biggest upside. So I do take that 20% just as seriously as I take that 80%, but that 80%'s more important to me right now, if that makes sense. So
you're primarily a shoe seller?
Yes, I only sell shoes.
Okay, so there's a lot of good stuff here. First off, you're in one niche. You focus on getting 20 up a day, which from my experience, that would produce a more immediate income than social media.
Yeah.
Social media takes a while and how long have you been building social media? A while?
Yeah, probably just over 2 years, taking it a lot more seriously in the past 12 months.
Okay. So I think people need to be patient with both reselling and social media, but social media is going to take a little bit longer because there's so many people doing it. If you look at the barrier to entry, you can start a YouTube channel or Instagram or TikTok with no money and from anywhere in the world, and you can go viral with anything. Versus reselling, really, you're kind of limited. You list 15, you could only sell 15. So I think this is really cool because one way to scale is content, because you produce it one time and it would pay dividends forever in theory.
Mhm.
So I really like your strategy, because you're doing sort of the income first, and then, your store will grow over time, because if you list 20, you most likely won't sell 20.
Right.
So every day the amount will go up. So do you have it separated? Do you do eBay home?
Yeah, everything is home. Before I had a roommate just not long ago, like 4 months ago. But since then they moved out, and when they lived here, I had a storage unit that I just basically operated out of. I do my shipping and storage there, obviously. And then since they moved out, I just moved all that into my second room, and I just run everything out of my apartment.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So 20 a day, you have enough room for storage for
Yeah.
shoes?
So yeah, right now, I use rack, like the shoe racks that you see,
Mhm.
and right now I can hold just over 1,000 pairs in those, and if I need to, I can put in like a rack or two. So I have like enough room to store up to probably like 1,200 if I really needed to.
Okay. And then do you focus on fast sell through? Are you going for home runs? What kind of shoes do you sell?
Yeah, definitely fast sell through. I'm in Orlando, Florida,
Okay.
and there's definitely a lot of competition here.
Mhm.
So a lot of the inventory that I'm getting in is like, I know you sell mainly mall brands,
Mhm.
and I basically say that's exactly what I do, but with shoes. A lot of my sales are coming from like basic Nike running shoes, Skechers, Adidas, Converse Vans, that kind of thing. And then just those home runs just get sprinkled in. Obviously, with consistency, you're going to come across them.
So when you're selling those mall or just generic brands
Right.
that everyone can get, do you look at it for a lower price point? How do you use all the promotions? How do you get regular stuff to sell?
Yeah, the promotions are huge. I always have a coupon going. Every morning I send offers that are just slightly above that coupon. I have a continuous markdown sale going. So after shoes are in my store for 60 days, that's when they hit their first markdown, all the way up until they're in for a year. And after they hit a year, I'm basically just giving them away at that point. And then I can't really get shoes for a super low price point because of
Sure.
the way the thrift stores are in my area.
Mhm.
So my average cost is still around that like $8 to $10 per pair, even on those lower end shoes. And I think that's why I find myself as successful as I am, because a lot of people don't want to turn $8 into $22. They want to turn $8 into $42.
Yeah.
So I can find enough of those kind of shoes that I can consistently hit my listing goal and sell those, like normally like 12 to 13, 14 pairs per day.
So I have a couple more reselling questions, then we'll get into social media.
Yeah, of course.
For cleaning, when does that happen during your day?
That happens after sometimes after my shipping, because after my shipping's done, if I don't have a whole lot on my plate, I kind of just like sit on the couch, watch TV, and clean shoes for the next day. And obviously I don't I don't source at the bins. I'm not sourcing a bunch of shoes that are like super dirty.
I see.
And a lot of the shoes that hit the floor at the thrift stores in my area are in pretty decent condition. So they don't take a lot of cleaning, and cleaning those 20 pairs doesn't take a whole lot of time, maybe an hour tops. So it's normally, obviously, listing comes first. Once the listings are done, I'll prep the shoes for the next day, maybe run to the post office, and then do it after that.
Do you clean the bottom of shoes?
See, this is like a controversial topic. I definitely do clean them. Like if there's rocks or like debris and stuff in it, I'm getting it out, but I'm not spinning like the one thing that a lot of people ask me is how I get like the Sharpie off the bottom of shoes.
Yeah.
And I don't do that. Like I've done it enough that I can look at it, and I'll use acetone to get it off if I can see the material as an easy one to get the Sharpie off. But I don't think buyers really care what the bottoms of the shoes look like because I'm mainly selling athletic shoes. And as long as like the midsoles look clean and the uppers look clean, obviously there's like a threshold. Like if they're super dirty on bottom, I'm first off probably not picking them up. Second off, I will put a little extra time into cleaning them, but I don't put as much effort into cleaning the bottoms of the shoes as you probably see a lot of people do like on social media.
This is interesting because you're at 20 a day, and I think I've met 90% of reseller influencers, and there is no one at all that sells more than 30 shoes a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if it's just because I think you're in an interesting place where it takes about an hour to clean shoes. Yeah. If you're cleaning shoes for 2 or 3 hours a day, I don't know if that lifestyle is sustainable because
It's not
nobody does that.
right. Yeah, and I've put thought into that before, like because obviously when I first started reselling, I got into only selling shoes super quick. Like long story short, I got fired from my job and I was like, I might as well go full time reselling. And at the time, I was selling just everything, garage sale, flea market reseller, and that only lasted like a month and a half before I ran out of money. And then I went and got a part time job and I really focused, like tried to pay attention to my business and my numbers. And I'm like, why didn't this work? And through that, I realized it would be a whole lot easier if I just sold one thing and I treated it like a business. Like I knew how much I'm paying on average, how much I'm getting after fees on average. So that way I can, reverse it into figuring out like how many I need to pick up every day and how many I need to list every day. But then like 6 months ago, because I've been doing it full time for probably 2 years now. And since my roommate was moving out and I'm living in a really expensive part of Florida, I was like, it dawned on me that shoes isn't super scalable, like you said, because you can only clean so many pairs of shoes per day. And the good thing about clothing is like that you don't really have that cleaning time. And I was like, I had that thought. I was like, maybe I'm in the wrong niche because it's not super scalable. But at the same time, like we said earlier, I don't want to scale my business to like multi-million dollars a year. So I think that shoes is definitely a good category to go full time as like a solopreneur. But you're right. It's definitely hard to scale past that.
Do you aim for at least $10 a pair? How do you look at it?
I don't like, of course I want it to be around $10 per pair.
Sure.
But I'm very happy paying up for shoes at thrift stores because at the end of the day, my average profit per pair is about $20.
Yeah.
So if I find a pair of shoes that I can sell for 80 and the thrift stores sell like 80 after fees and the thrift store selling it for 50, that's higher than my average sell profit. So like I'll pay that. So I'm happy paying up for things, but I do like to keep my average as low as possible, obviously.
Okay. I meant the profit per shoe, but you're at $20. That's great. So what I was thinking is, I think there's some good tips there because paying 50 to sell for 80, that is the normal shoe model. If you look at the first off, there are no used shoe stores. I find that pretty fascinating. There is no, like, you'll see used shoes or new shoes at every store, but those are like, they're priced between 30 and 80 for used, and then new, they're 200 to 500 if they're hype shoes. So it's pretty common to buy something for 50 and sell for 90, buy something for 100 and sell for 160. The margins are lower, but you're still making $20 a pair. Right. So you need a little bit more capital with that. So I find it interesting that you got a part-time job. So did you live on that while you grew your store? How did you go from, because I always get the question, can I quit my job now?
Yeah. That's another thing that I'm glad you brought up because I think a lot of people like treat it like black and white, like I either have a job or I don't. Yeah. And I think like a step that a lot of people skip is that part-time job. Like maybe you're not ready to go full-time reselling, but you can cut your hours back from 40 to 20 and live off of the part-time job that you have and then scale your reselling business from that. Like that's the model I did. I just got a part-time job as a server. And servers, especially if you're in the city, the servers can make up to $30 an hour. It's easy money. And so I just lived off that income and then just kept reinvesting the reselling income. Okay,
awesome. So I think it sounds like you'd be pretty happy with 20 pairs. And I think I would be happy for 20 pairs because you have other streams of income. So reselling is done, cleaning is done, and then it's separated into a different bedroom, which is nice because I don't see inventory in your place right now.
Yeah, I mean, with the exception of these totes, this is all like unlisted inventory, but with the exception of those, I try to keep everything in the other room.
So what happens when you find something really profitable as an influencer? Do you pick it up so you can make content on it, or do you just leave it there and still only sell shoes?
See, I've bounced back and forth between that because like I said earlier, I can see like a bigger financial upside with social media.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I step out of my, I'll be doing that at the expense of my 80% income, if that makes sense. So like right now, that makes no sense to go pick up. Like if I'm at the thrift store and like out of the corner of my eye, I see something that I know just from seeing people selling it on Instagram that I can make a lot of money on it. Yeah. If I get that, it's just, first off, I'm never going to list it. Yeah. Second off, it's just going to be like, it's just me sitting in my apartment and it's going to be bugging me and it's going to add stress to my life. So I'm just like, I stay away from it for now, but I do think about that because I'm curious how scalable social media is when I'm only in the shoe category. But at the same time, maybe that's my thing. Cause like, I think with social media, you need a niche just like you need with reselling. So I'm sticking to shoes right now and I'm going to take that as far as I can on social media. I might readjust that in the future, but as of right now, I'm just sticking to shoes.
I think with your social media handle, you can be versatile.
Yeah.
And I have seen many shoe influencers change. Like maybe 5 years down, they change to something that's not shoes, and the transition's a little bit rocky. But you're already kind of a jack of all trades because you're doing more than that. Because you also have the private label. So I think one thing I want to mention before we get into that is, when you have one listing, I think a lot of people they underestimate how much of their own traffic they need to bring. So if you're on Whatnot or if you're selling your own product, you don't need the list every day because the listing is the same. What you need to do is drive traffic every day. So you could go on to Amazon or eBay or Mercari or Poshmark and make another listing. Like some people will do 1 shoe tree, 2 shoe trees, 6 shoe trees, 10 shoe trees, 1 black, 1 white, 1 green, 1 orange. I optimized one guy's listings with replenishables. So he had like 690 listings on eBay, but he only had 12 products. So he was listing daily. And at one point, when you searched for his product, half of the searches were him. So he sort of vertically took up all the space for that. But after that, he was like, okay, I just need to start making some social media content to drive people to my listing because I already have all the views, but these are all the views that eBay has. Now I need outside views to make this work. So because you can scale your shoe trees with the brand that you've made, which I like. And do you look at that as like a 5 to 10 year play, or you want to sell that brand in the future? How do you look at your private label?
See, I'm really bad at looking at things that far out. Right now I have there's short-term goals that I have with it. Like right now, all I'm focused on is selling through the inventory that I have to the point where I can reorder.
I see.
Because like I do with my reselling business, I want to reinvest my profits because I don't think the product the product itself is fully fleshed out, but I don't think the branding is fully fleshed out. Because for example, when you're buying in bulk, there's like minimum order quantities for like custom, there's minimum order quantities for custom packaging. And when I purchased them, I didn't have the funds for the custom packaging. And so right now I'm limited to only selling out of my apartment through my brand. If I have those custom packaging, I've had thoughts of like small sneaker shops in town because they're very popular items to like clean your sneakers. Like if you see like Rejuvenator or other people on YouTube, they put out a bunch of content of like how to clean shoes. And the first thing you do is pop shoe trees into them. So I've thought about reaching out to local sneaker shops and try to get in those stores, but I don't think I can do that until I have the proper branding material because right now they're just in clear plastic. So I want to do that. I have other products that I'm looking to bring into the mix, but I don't see myself selling it in the future because the one downside that I have is I think that I'm attached to it at the moment. If you take me out of the mix, it's kind of hard to sell it. So that's another hurdle I might have to jump through later. But right now it's just focusing on upping the branding and bringing more products into the platform.
Okay. So now I want to talk about social media. And this is exciting. And this is where I learned a lot from you at FlipCon and looking at how people are getting themselves out there. It really blew my mind. So I currently post almost every single day on YouTube, but I definitely average 30 videos a month. So I am personally going to be adding in Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. I'm going to add one in every day also. So I'll have now 4 pieces of content every day all month. And I saw a chart somebody made. I wish I had screenshotted it, but they were doing 167 pieces of content per week. And this is every single platform has a different algorithm. So this is something I want people to recognize. Everyone out there listens to YouTube or a podcast and they listen to one thing and they go try it. And then maybe it doesn't work, but it's never just one thing.
Mhm.
There's a million different things. And to post 167 pieces of content a week, it costs like $10,000 in help. And most
Right.
people don't have $40,000 a month to spend on social media. But that's like, if you think of it, okay, that's like the 500 listings a day person, but on social media.
Right.
You want all the views. If you want
Right.
all the views, then it's different. So I think the way you're approaching it and scaling it, because I see you on different platforms, how do you split your time?
How do I split my time between the different platforms?
Yeah.
So I think my least successful, I don't know if successful is the right word, but
Yeah.
I don't think I've like carved out my approach for YouTube yet. Just because I don't know, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and like I don't love like the simple vloggy style YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I want to, like, for example, Phoenix Resell.
Yeah.
I love his videos because he's always like telling a story. It's always like a challenge or something. So I'm trying to figure out how to work that into my shoe niche. But YouTube also takes up a lot of time through editing, and I don't have the funds to hire a full-time editor. So right now, YouTube's kind of just sporadic. But with my short form content, which is the most successful for me right now, is I make a bunch of different types of content that I think will, like, my theory will be like this piece of content will perform better on TikTok, and this piece of content will perform better on YouTube Shorts. But I'll post everything everywhere, because I don't think I definitely would not consider myself like a successful social media person just yet, because I mean, on Instagram, things are going good, but like I still haven't figured out like what's performing best on which platform. So every piece of short form content I make, I just repurpose it everywhere, and then just pay attention like where it's performing better.
I see.
And then if one takes off on a certain platform, then I will start doubling down on that content and make it specifically for that platform, but keep making everything else and continue to post it everywhere. And like the goal with YouTube Shorts right now is I'm starting to get a feel for what works over there. Just last week, I got my first 100,000 view short, and it was that type of content. Every time I post it on YouTube, it performs really well. So I'll probably stop posting everything else on YouTube right now, and just like double down on that type of content since it's working there, and then keep testing all the other ones. And eventually, everything will be fleshed out. Like, these are the kind of pieces of content that I make for YouTube. These are the kind of pieces of content that I make for Instagram. These are the kind that I make for TikTok, etc.
This is really smart, because I noticed that too. I post a piece of content on YouTube Short, Instagram, and TikTok. They all perform very differently. And since I don't have the means to post different content on every single site yet, I'm using the same content.
Right.
So right away, you'll see the engagement, the questions, what people like, don't like, and the pace is different on each one. So I think when you look at the people who are posting all the content, they know the tricks on each platform. So all the content is different. It's tailored for that.
Right.
So I find that that's a good approach in the beginning. Post the same content everywhere and see what gains more traction. And it's still traction, just not like the top performing.
Right.
Cool. So YouTube is the least. Instagram is the most. You're also on TikTok, I'm assuming?
Yes, I am.
And then how's that working for you?
TikTok right now, it's just like it's a steady growth, and it's not fast at all, I would say. Lately I've been posting just about every day, and TikTok's honestly hard. Like, it's so random. Like, sometimes one type of content performs really well, and then the next time I post it doesn't get any views. I think TikTok, since it's like the hot platform right now, there's so many people on it. It's so competitive. A lot of people are telling you need to be posting on TikTok all the time if you want to create exposure around your brand, which I agree with. But I think that because of that, a lot of people are taking their eyes off of other platforms, especially YouTube Shorts and Instagram to a degree. But with TikTok, I'm posting consistently every now and then. Like, I've never had a viral video on TikTok by any means. I only have like 5,200 followers on there, and a bulk of those came, like, I kick myself all the time for this. I got on TikTok like a year and a half ago, and I jumped up to like 3,000 followers, because that's when you were getting like crazy amount of views for like not a lot of effort.
Mm-hmm.
and I just didn't like the platform, so I stopped posting on it. So now I'm just consistently posting, but I'm posting everything over there still. But I'm mainly focusing on Instagram and YouTube.
So with Instagram, do you script it out and then start filming, or how do you approach the content?
So there's different pieces of content like we talked about. So with like the ones that you see a lot of resellers posting where they're like filming the outside of Goodwill, they're walking in, they're finding a few pieces of items that they want to talk about. Those basically, the way I put those together is I obviously film while I'm thrifting, and then I just put the video together on my phone, and then I like add the voiceover to that. So I'll like watch the video through twice, and then I'll talk to I'll voice over it. I'll add the captions and post. I never really script anything. Only if it's like, I'll script things if it's like an educational piece, but I don't post a lot of that because I've never had them perform exceptionally well. I sprinkle those in every now and then. I'll script those, but usually with the thrift with me's or the just like the funny ones, it's just like a couple. If it takes me a few takes, it takes me a few takes, but I'm rarely scripting.
Like, what performs the best for you on Instagram?
Yeah, right now it's thrift with me's. Like that's the hashtag that's popular, is hashtag thrift with me.
Yeah.
Initially I started posting them without a voiceover. I just film everything that I got at the thrift store. And then I just put captions on the video, like what the brand was, how much I paid, like why I didn't pick them up, just through caption form. And then I'd add like a trending sound on top of it. And those started getting 20 to 60,000 views on Instagram.
Interesting.
And then since FlipCon, because I talked a lot with American Arbitrage, and his are all voiced over. So I was like, I'm going to give that a try. And they've been consistently performing slightly better than the ones without just having music over them. So that's kind of the route that I'm going right now, is a voiceover versus a trending song.
So when you are you doing reels? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is really interesting. So do you upload a thumbnail? Do you think about that for your reels?
Yeah, I think about it as what my feed's going to look like, because I do think that your feed matters.
Yeah.
So when someone clicks on your profile, if your thumbnail is just like some random shot in the video, it doesn't look as professional, it doesn't look as clean. So I don't like create a separate thumbnail for them, but that first 3 seconds of the video where I'm filming the outside of the Goodwill, the hook will be in like caption form on the video, as well as me speaking the hook. And then I'll just use the picture of the caption hook on the screen with the Goodwill in the background, and I'll use that as the cover photo. Unless it's like some crazy find or something, I'll put like the crazy find that I found at the thrift store as the thumbnail.
Yeah, I'm looking at your reels right now, and it looks like the ones that are performing definitely look more like action, or like they can tell you're thrifting before even clicking.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. I think TikTok does a much better job of making the thumbnail more interesting with the movement.
Yeah, I agree.
I have 19 TikToks so far, and I also regret not doing more, because like I'm like all of mine, the beginning at 20,000, 60, and I just don't like TikTok that much, because I don't know if it's what it is, but I feel like I'm out of my league. When I watch TikTok, every single one is unbelievable. Like, it's amazing. People are so creative. They put so much work into it, and you're competing against people who are not monetizing.
Right.
They're just trying to be as entertaining as possible.
Right.
And that is a different approach. If you're trying to connect it to a product or be informational or something, it's not the same as someone just trying to be funny or fun.
Yeah. It's so hard to sell without selling.
Absolutely.
And because people see right through it.
They do. And plus you're looking at thousands of TikToks. So people get trained to what they like, what they don't like so quickly. So I think I like this approach where you think about the feed, because I think you want to get people to trust you, and that's going to take 3 to 10 pieces of content, and they need to watch 3 to 10 pieces of content. So it has to flow somehow. This is cool. Okay, so what are you like done by eBay by like the middle of the day?
That's the goal. But like I said,
Okay,
I'm not super
great.
strict about it. I mean, I try to be, but like we talked about earlier, 20 a day isn't going to take a lot of time.
Hmm.
I definitely don't try to wait until 10 p.m. to start working.
Sure.
That's a terrible rabbit hole to go down. But
Hmm.
like at the end of the day, it takes only a few hours to complete my entire eBay workday.
Yeah,
Best case scenario, I'm done by middle of the day, and then the last thing I do is take the packages to the post office, and then I've got the rest of the evening to work on something else.
I agree. I think if you can get done with reselling by 11 or 1 o'clock,
Yeah.
then those two time slots work really well. Because if you're done at 11, you can have lunch and kind of unwind for a second and then make it. And then at 1, you still have plenty of time. Um, but that's worked well for me trying to do both.
Mhm.
And I know that it is slower if you do both. So versus people who just do one.
Mhm.
And I know that, and you're actually doing at least 3 different things because you have your own product, social media, and reselling.
Right.
Plus, you seem like a pretty happy guy, and a lot of people doing this are not. So I feel like you probably also fit some life in there too.
Yeah, I definitely do. That's really important to me. I don't like that's the whole reason that I got into reselling. And that's why I didn't just go get another job. Is so like I can say yes to doing the things that I want to do.
Yep. Because from at FlipCon, I think there was probably 75 influencers there. There's a lot of people who are on social
Yeah.
media, and you don't look burned out because some people do look pretty burned
Yeah.
out because it's
Yeah.
a lot of stuff
Yeah.
to do.
It-
Like, go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say I think that the the main reason for that is I'm not hard on myself. Like
Yep.
at the end of the day, like eBay's paying my bills
Mhm.
and all this stuff on top is just extra. So like if I don't get to everything in a single day, I'll just do it tomorrow. Like it's not the end of the world.
I'm gonna put your social media handles in the beginning of the video so people can easily find you. Where should people start when they're looking for your stuff?
I would definitely go to Instagram. I think
Okay.
that that's by far my best content. There's everything from like the reels. I put together one thing that we haven't talked about is the carousels, like static images that you swipe through.
Yep.
Those everybody's telling you to push video, but those perform so well for me. If they look professional, the beautiful thing about carousels is they pop up in people's feed multiple times. If they only look at the first video or the first picture and scroll, the next time they open the app, the second picture is going to show up in their feed,
Interesting.
and then until they see all of them. So I put out a lot of educational content through the form of like brand, like things to look out for certain brands, like model guides. And then I do the reels. There's a lot of like humor and education on Instagram. I do put out a lot of content on YouTube. It's a lot of YouTube shorts. And then every week or so, I'll put out a long form video. Sometimes I put out like how-tos and things like that, but mainly start with Instagram and then maybe bounce over to YouTube.
Do you mix anything in that's not reseller related? That's just something about Dalton. Is that ever inserted in there?
So I think that's really important on Instagram, especially. I'm talking about Instagram with this one mainly because of the bulk of my shoe tree sales are coming from Instagram. That's how people learn about them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the most important thing when you're selling a product, like a private label product, it has nothing to do with price. It has everything to do with brand and trust. So whenever you're posting like real life content, I definitely don't recommend doing it in the feed. Like if every now and then, if you have like a family photo, like you can post that in the feed, but I wouldn't expect it to perform very well. I'd prefer that kind of stuff in your stories, because in your stories, that's where you can give like a behind the scenes, show your real life. That's where people learn that you're like a real human being, not just some robot that posts social media content. So I show a lot of my personal life in my stories. And I think that is one way to build trust with people because it opens up the avenue for conversation. And when you post something that's not reseller related, that one of your followers can relate with themselves, I feel like they're a lot more inclined to DM you. You can have a conversation with that person. It becomes more of an intimate relationship. And then when you have a product, it's easier for them to like trust you and just want to support you because they view you as a friend versus an influencer.
Do you want to do anything? Do you want to do any meetups with your audience? Because I know FlipCon, like there hasn't been a lot of events since COVID.
Right.
So I wonder, did you enjoy that? Do you want to host your own?
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. And I've thought about it, maybe like tossing to my followers, like, hey, if anybody wants to grab lunch, we're meeting up here in Orlando, or locally, just smaller. Obviously not like, I feel like the stress of putting on an event like FlipCon just isn't really for me.
Yeah.
But I definitely think like having a smaller like meetup, just dropping to my followers, let them know, hey, I'm going to be here. Let's hang out for a couple hours. That sounds like a lot of fun. I've actually have been putting thought into that recently.
Because I'll tell you, this is so odd. I did one event in California this year and I posted it on TikTok. 15 people came to it from TikTok, and TikTok I only have 5,000 followers.
That's crazy.
So like the amount of engagement for let's hang out on TikTok was on insane. So what I think is that TikTok probably does a really good job with regional. Like a lot of people in my area saw my TikTok.
Interesting. And do you think that they followed you on other platforms before TikTok?
Nope.
No, they didn't. That's
They
interesting.
did not. They had never even heard of me, which I thought was like how many people on different like are only on TikTok?
Yeah.
They have no idea.
Huh. Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know. That was like, it makes me wonder. Maybe it's not viral, but it's all people that don't know you.
Yeah.
So that's like an interesting puzzle. And when I look at the younger generation, they're really not on YouTube. Like, okay, it depends. They're watching different types of. Everyone gets in their own rabbit hole,
right?
And it's just interesting that I had the most engagement locally with TikTok, and I just found that it makes me wonder about Harry Tornado's event was the only one that wasn't educational.
Right.
I've never heard of that. Usually when people go to a conference that's $300, they're trying to learn.
Yeah.
But then this was like $300 hangout.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I always think in the back of my mind, if I do a hangout, it's got to be barbecue $5.
Right. Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be barbecue $5. I thought that was like,
he just proved it. Yeah.
So weird. That blew my mind.
Yeah. That's interesting though. Now I'm thinking about posting these meetups on different platforms and seeing how that goes.
So the meetup that I did was this guy had a death pile that was 2 years old. So he sold sports cards. And when he went to a garage sale, they would be like, okay, we have 10 sports cards and then 9,999 other things. And the sports cards sometimes would be the most valuable thing. So he was basically buying lots of stuff to get the sports cards at a better deal, but then never sold anything like we talked about earlier. So he had two car garage full, storage shed in the back full, extra bedroom in the house full. So I did a garage sale at his house, and we made it into like 75 piles of stuff. So then I auctioned off the 75 piles of stuff, and the rule was you have to take it with you. So whatever like your responsibility is to empty your pile. So it's amazing. We sold 2 years of death pile in 2 hours.
And these were from are we still saying that these are from the people that you told on TikTok to come meet up here?
15 random people from TikTok came, people from Instagram came, YouTube came, and then I can't believe it because like, have you been to a live auction before?
Yeah.
I've only been to one. I've been to one live auction before. The hype is more than Whatnot. Yeah. In person, it's really exciting.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like I didn't know that. I thought reselling was just thrifting. Right. Yeah. So that's actually like how I got into the like reselling mindset. My parents do a lot of auctions. Their main income, their main income is they own a restaurant, but they like to flip restaurant equipment.
Wow.
So, and the only place that they really sell restaurant equipment is through live auctions because restaurants go out of business every day. And there's a bunch of these equipment auctions. So they'd go to these auctions and they'd, buy them for cheap and flip them. But through that, when I was younger, we'd like go to just random auctions. And I just remember being like 12 years old when my mom first let me start bidding, and like that adrenaline rush of like you can see the person bidding against you. You're like, I want to beat that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So this is what I thought was, I think you're right, because I tried to pre-sell the lots so that it wouldn't be so much pressure. And so maybe about 80% of the lots sold. And then when we showed up in person, all the people were there. And I'm like, we have about 20% left. Who wants another one? Everyone wanted another pile. I couldn't believe it. So that sold out instantly. The event was only 2 hours long. And I think in the first 45 minutes, everything was in people's cars. And then people were just hanging out. And I'm just like, this is so crazy. You pay like perfect. X amount of money, and everyone was excited. And before people took the stuff home, I said, go to your pile and on a sticky note, write all the solds prices. So everyone can go quickly, like improve their Rolodex on what's valuable and what's not. And people traded piles. And it was like, I couldn't believe it, but they made me think, okay, the live auction is interesting. And also we have so many followers, like 1,000 followers might be enough to do a meetup.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. Like, have you heard people talk about the 1,000 true fans?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a huge fan of that article.
Yeah,
it's Kevin Kelly.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's basically, like you said, having 1,000 followers is plenty to do a meetup. And the theory for anybody that doesn't know with the whole 1,000 true fans thing is if you have 1,000 true fans, a true fan is someone that will spend $100 a year on you. That's $100,000 in income per year.
That's right.
So you don't need 1 million people following you. You just need 1,000 true fans.
I totally take that for granted because like I'm like, 10,000. It doesn't even, it's so weird looking at that's a lot of people. When you do something like we scoff at like 60,000 views on TikTok, whatever. It's right. But that's like a lot of people. It's just that TikTok doesn't have a call to action.
Right.
So like and maybe you don't want a call to action. You just want to do something interesting for people. And I think it's just kind of mind boggling when you think that anyone listening right now can make a TikTok that 1 million people view. And the concept of that is watered down because it's so normal. Right.
And definitely negates the 1,000 view videos that you get. Because I mean, if those 1,000 people really like that piece of content, that's all you need.
Yesterday I was doing retail arbitrage and it was a big sale day at a big store. I think probably 80 people recognized me. It was so weird. So like I was in line and I was like, these people live here where I live. So I was like, maybe this new trend, maybe we can start a trend where it's like resellers in the park and like 50 people show up to a park with 10 items that they want to sell and then post on Craigslist community garage sale. And then just because if 50 people bring cool stuff, that's going to be banging.
Yeah.
Everybody would love to go. And I think that somehow doing it right, like, is there someone out there making $100,000 on social media with 1,000 followers? I mean, there are, but I mean, just
there's got to be.
You don't really see that. You just see people pumping out Gary V content. Content. They're not really like, okay, I've got 10 followers. I'm good now. Let's talk to those 10 people. They don't do that.
Yeah. No, that brought another thing to my mind. The one thing that I think that I wish I did differently with social media is, like if you go on LinkedIn or Indeed or like job searching websites and you type in like social media manager, social media content creator, whatever, like these are like 60,000 plus a year paying jobs.
Yep.
And I think people negate that. Like this social media is a full-time job.
Yep.
And a lot of people go into social media with their end goal being, I want this many followers. But at the end of the day, followers don't mean anything. I think a lot more people would benefit from, before they post their first piece of content, putting thought into how they're monetizing that content and having a like a more of a business approach to it, since it is a full-time job. Like I wish if I knew that I was going to start posting on social media and I was already a shoe seller, I almost would have started selling shoe trees on day one with 0 followers. Because I mean, I didn't start selling shoe trees until I hit 15,000 ish on Instagram. And that's 15,000 followers worth of growth that I didn't have anything to sell to those people. I mean, not that that's like my only goal, because I've built so many relationships with these people and I've grown my like reselling business through those relationships. So I've definitely financially benefited from that first 15. But like, even if it's something like print on demand, like that's passive income. Just like create a logo, slap it on a shirt, like give people like want to support you. So whether you have 50 followers or 50,000 followers, like those people are invested in you and they want to support you. So you might as well have some sort of like merch website or some sort of product, or think about how to monetize it from the get.
I think so, because a true fan, I think, will spend $100 on you a year.
Yeah.
But a casual person who just met you would spend, in my opinion, up to $30 on something if what you produce was like, oh my God, that I thank you. I needed this exact piece of content. You gave it to me. So let me buy your shirt to just thank you, because people want to thank you and they need an opportunity. So when we were at the conference, Hustle at Home Mom Ashley was talking, and people were asking, like, why are you more successful than everybody else? Because there was only one woman represented at the conference, and I know why. It's because she puts the most effort in. Her content was way more effort than everybody else when you look at the content. And she talked about her day and how she gets reselling done as soon as possible, 1,000 item store, social media the rest of the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the actual answer. People are looking for how to do it. If you need immediate income, which Ashley's been doing this like me for 6 years, we started at the same time. We have almost the same number of subscribers, because it takes time to build up because if you're doing both, it takes time. You have to be patient. But like the get reselling done as soon as possible, social media full time, that was always her gig, because on paper we wrote down like, okay, how does she make a living? Just reselling, it's actually pretty easy. Yeah, because you can do, if you stopped everything and did 30 shoes, you would make more money. But that's not what she wanted. She wanted both and the social media to grow, right? And she said she made 55,000 this year so far, which is awesome. And I'm looking at the but the answer is, if you have some income coming in, it takes a huge amount of stress off. And a lot of people have a 0 to 5 listing habit and do social media, and it's too much pressure. Yeah. It's too hard.
Yeah, I agree.
But then there's also a lot of pressure to do 15 to 20 a day. And it's like less pressure, but more work.
Yeah, I agree.
And then one last thing I think that's made you successful and other people successful is, if you don't resell at all, there's no content.
Right.
So like if people like wonder why I can produce 7 pieces of content a week, it's not the best content, but I have a lot to talk about. Right. Like a lot of stuff happened. So if you can just sell a bunch of things, you'll run into best tips to clean shoes, best tips to stage shoes. You have your brand tutorials are good. For me personally, the ones that do the best are always tips. But then, okay, that's not true. The ones that do best for me are always thrift with me or what I buy. Right. I just don't make those. So of the ones that I make, the educational ones are the best. But the haul, if I made hauls, those would be really popular.
Yeah, but I'd also argue that the thrift with me's are educational, because I think that like most of the viewers are wanting those. The reason they perform so well is because everybody just wants to know what to buy. They don't want to go through the trial and error. They're just looking for like what's the people that are doing this successfully, what are they buying? So I think it's more of the educational value with the thrift with me's versus the entertainment.
I agree with you. I think let's see. I would say that it ends up the better the tip, the more educational it is. Like as an example, a lot of people have never heard of OnCloud. Right. Like, because it's, even though it's huge, it's not well known. Right. So the huge, not well known, those are the ones that are the most engaging. And I think this is interesting. My wife actually signed into, we got a new TV, and on the TV, it didn't have a login for YouTube. And she's like, oh, let's watch YouTube. So we turned on YouTube, and she's like, how many of these videos have you heard of? So there were 16 videos on the YouTube recommended, but neither of us had logged in yet. Fresh TV. Right. We'd only heard of one of the 16 videos, both of us. Every single one had like 18 million views, 25 million views. One had 90 million views, and we'd never even heard of this person. Right. So it's kind of like, if you were to share with your audience that 90 million view video and be like,
Mhm.
oh, you know what? I saw this video and it was epic. They have
Mhm.
never heard of that.
Right.
So that's like insanely educational. It's
Right.
insanely entertaining. There's like the example I think comes to mind for me is Selena. I know nothing about that music genre, but she's massive. Like some people can sell you like you'll see a vintage Selena shirt sell for $800.
Yeah.
Like
See,
I don't know anything about her music.
I didn't know she existed until her vintage T-shirt started getting popular.
That's what I mean. So
Yeah.
I'm saying like that would be the that kind of thing. I can see how that's insanely entertaining and
Mhm.
useful because it's like I've never even heard of that and it sells for $800.
Yeah, and that's like a perfect example because that's one thing that I trip myself up on a lot is like what kind of content do I need to put out today?
Yeah.
And I overthink it so much, but at the end of the day, like I'm seeing these brands like you said on clouds. I see them all the time. Like
Yeah.
I know that on clouds are valuable.
Yeah.
But like you said, even though they're super popular, not a lot of people know they exist. And like I didn't know they existed. I remember 3 years ago when I was thrifting, I seen the logo on the shoes. They were on clouds. There were three of them. Like I have this picture in my head. There was three of them sitting on the shelf. They looked weird. I'd never heard of them.
Yeah.
I didn't look them up. I just moved on.
Yeah.
And then now that I know what they are, it's like, wow, I passed up on $300 worth of shoes probably.
Mhm.
And everybody's at that point at one point. So
I mean, even if you're not at that point, even if you've been doing it forever, there's
Right.
brands that you never recognize.
Exactly.
And then the company on cloud is actually on, right?
Yeah.
So, but the people who know on cloud might only know on cloud. They don't know that cloud is a division or like a silhouette of on.
Right.
So there's like a lot that goes into it. And I guess my final question for you for social media is how do you decide what content to make next?
So I don't watch a lot of other resellers' content. I watch a lot of my own content and I try to figure out what's working in that and then I try to duplicate it. That's pretty much all that goes into my content strategy.
So you look at the top performing and then you make the same thing, similar thing?
Yes, like my first carousel infographic that I posted, it performed really well, so I'm going to make another one of those. My first thrift with me performed really well. I'm going to make another one of those. Initially, when I went from like 5,000 followers, which was like January of this year, to maybe 10 to 12,000 followers, the growth between 5 to 10 to 12 was mainly just me voicing over trending audios. And since that was working, like after I got my eBay business done, I'd go on my Reels page and I'd scroll until I heard the same audio a few times. I'm like, oh, this is trending. How can I apply this to reselling? And so it's just basically just focusing on what's been working and then keep posting that until it stops working and then look back and see what else is performing well and post some more of that. And it's just, you're only competing with yourself.
That's essentially so similar, right? So you figure out what's working and then you do it. I don't do that. I literally have like so many videos that performed really well. Never made anything like that again. That's like going to the thrift store, finding a really good brand and then never selling it again. That's what I'm doing. So I'm just thinking it's like I'm always out there looking for like just something different. But you don't need to.
Nope.
You could just make 10 videos, whichever one does best, make that one again.
Yeah. And I think that a good example, especially on YouTube, because the nice thing about YouTube is like the lifespan of videos is a lot longer. So I think I want to say it's Rally Roots. Maybe somebody, regardless, it doesn't matter. Somebody posts a eBay for beginners video like every December.
Yeah.
And every year it performs just as good, or if not better than it did last year.
That's right.
And like it's the same information every single year, maybe a few updates that they sprinkled in, but it's the same video over and over. And with like short form content like YouTube and TikTok and even YouTube Shorts, like the lifespan of those videos is even shorter. So you can post basically the same content every 90 days.
This is like so mind blowing to me because like Tech and I joke that our podcast is the same every single week, and it really is the same every single week. But I was just, the fact that you said that you could post the exact same piece of content reminds me of, I listened to this OnlyFans interview And this lady said she's making 120,000 a month on OnlyFans, right? So different niche, obviously, certain people do very well. And they're like, okay, so what does your content strategy look like? And she's like, well, sometimes I post the exact same video a year later, the exact same video. Like I didn't even change the title. Like I just same video. And no one will even mention it. It'll perform exactly the same. And no one will say like, oh, wow, this is the same as a year ago.
Yeah.
Like it might be all different people.
Right.
Like to them, it's completely fresh.
Yeah, 100%. And like, even if you're posting like the same types of content multiple times per day, just the way the algorithm works, like people aren't going to see that. And to that same point, that OnCloud, I don't know, you said you were on my profile, but I made that OnCloud infographic that showed different models.
Yeah, that's where I got the idea.
That's the second time I've posted that. I haven't, I remade it. Like I made it look a little bit better than I did last time, but the OnCloud model guide that I posted probably not even a year ago, it performed really well. So I was like, maybe I just need to remake this and post it again.
What a great example.
Same information.
What a great example, because that was the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking so much time with me. Remind everybody where they can find you.
Yep. So you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, Facebook. All of it's Dealing with Dalton. If you head over to dealingwithdalton.com, that's where you can purchase some shoe trees for photography, cleaning, storing, whatever you need. They're available there. That's it. Thanks, Chris.
All right, Dalton. Thank you so much for hopping in.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate you.